Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome into another edition of the Big Man on Campus podcast. I'm your host, the Big Man on Campus. It is 5 o'clock here on a Wednesday, May 15th, 2019. I got March in the brain. I'm thinking about college basketball. My great college basketball. I'm missing it. But we're in May. We got a lot to talk about. Baseball. We got NBA. We got Blues Sharks tonight, game 3. I'll also throw out some golf picks for the PGA Championship, which gets going tomorrow. But it's time to welcome in our Wednesday guest. Many of you know him. We'll get his opinion on all the stuff going on tonight. We go north of the border. Ian Cameron, how you doing?
I'm doing good, big man. It's funny. I hear you do your good afternoon, everybody. And then 2 seconds later, I hear it again echoing in my headset here. And I'm realizing, I had the YouTube video sound up. So that was funny hearing that twice. Good to be with you, as always, on a Wednesday.
Yeah, always good to have you. Yeah, I do that myself because for some reason on YouTube, it doesn't allow you to mute something before the show starts. I don't know why, but I always have to do that myself. But welcome in to everyone out there checking out the show. I appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you support in any way you can. Retweet the show. Tell your friends. Do all that stuff. A couple people already did that. Chris, MCA, Kenny, a couple other people. Thanks for retweeting the show. I do appreciate it. Ian, we are in May now. Obviously, we're into the spring. My basketball team is out. I really should be watching probably my team tonight, but that didn't happen. And your Toronto Raptors are in play tonight. We'll get to that. Looking forward to it. How's baseball been going? I know you had a nice start to baseball. How's it been going for you?
Yeah, it has been going very, very well, baseball. I've been getting pretty much 99% of the breaks, too. In a lot of these games. You look at last night when I have a Colorado-Boston over the total wager at 8. That game looks like it's just Chris Sale's throwing Ks left and right, and you think, man, I got very little chance to win this thing. Then all of a sudden, Colorado gets a 2-run home run off Sale right before he exits, and that sort of leads to the floodgates opening up. Bullpens can't get any outs, and we end up getting that game over the total. That's just been one of many examples, Jeff, where, I've been very good. I will say that, but we've had our share of luck too. It's not all capping skills that get you to a point in baseball season that I'm at right now. There's no way. You have to have some breaks and some luck along the way. We got some of that, not only last night, but in many instances so far this season. But I'll take it. We hope we can keep it going.
Yeah, you're doing a great job. And I want to kind of shout out Ian Cameron, and we'll get back to what I did last night. Ian Cameron on the regular season in baseball, 54-35. Up 17 units. Very nice job. Look, long season, but you have to be happy with the start. Last night was good for me. I went 2-0. I gave out the Warriors -7.5. They got the job done. I also sent out to my people Houston on the first 5 on the run line. So that was an easy rocking chair winner.
I was going to say, you didn't have to sweat that one.
No, not at all. And I actually didn't really have to sweat my free pick I gave out here on the show. Cubs, Reds under 9.5. I didn't quite understand that total much at all. But that was a pretty easy one also. So wall to wall was a very nice night. So obviously listen up, guys. Baseball's been okay. We're starting to look up with that. And we got Ian, and he's done real well. Like I said, we'll get to the PGA. I have a really big top 20 play that I like, and then I'll get to a couple outrights as well. I'm sure Ian will add to that discussion. But let's get into tonight's card. We'll start out in baseball. Really just a series I wanted to kind of get your opinion on. I'm not really sure that I'd wager on this game, but I look back to the latest 2 games between these 2 teams, and the Brewers and the Phillies. You had the Phillies win 7-4 on Monday. Last night you had the Brewers get the job done. You look at tonight, kind of the rubber game here. Arrieta against Gio Gonzalez. Now, back to last year and years before, back when Gio was with the Nationals, he's never gotten much respect with bettors, really with anybody. He's constantly undervalued, and I think he's undervalued again tonight. Look at his first 3 starts of the season, under a 1.7 ERA. Whip is very good. It's not like you're getting a good Arrieta. Jake Arrieta has been up and down all season and into last year. He's a lot looked good lately. He's got a whip of 1.7 over his 3 starts. You get the better bullpen. You get probably the more in-depth lineup right now with the Brewers. I kind of like the Brewers here. Any thoughts, Ian, on this?
Yeah, I mean, the Phillies have started out the season in terms of their offense red hot. They definitely have cooled off a little bit. There's been some concern that maybe Bryce Harper wouldn't be in the lineup tonight. He's got a left knee issue, but he's going to be in there tonight against the Brewers. Certainly, he's had ups and downs. Certainly, the crowd has had good and love and hate already with Bryce Harper this season. Not that we're all that shocked by that. When you're doing good, they'll love you in Philly. When you're not sucking and playing not well and not playing maybe as hard as they want you to, you'll hear about it from them too in that aspect. And you've certainly heard that from Harper. Yeah, Gio's been a renaissance, and I don't know if it can continue, Jeff, with him. But for now, you've got to like the results. There's no question. I mean, Gio's pitched extremely well for the Brewers. A guy that's back with the team. You can't complain about anything you've got. And for Jake Arrieta's standpoint, I know he has a 3.78 ERA, but his FIP is higher, his xFIP is higher. He's got a very heavy left on base percentage, which is a concern. You've got a guy in Jake Arrieta that seems to be giving up big hits, big runs in recent outings, where his current form seems to be getting worse, not better. I wouldn't argue with you with taking a look at Milwaukee here. I'm also on the over in this game though as well. I do think the Phillies are going to bust Gonzalez a little bit. This is a matchup that I don't think is terrible for them. You got to hope Hoskins and Segura. Segura, by the way, has had a tremendous track record against Gonzalez. He has really, really hit him hard. And that's one guy that you might want to use in a fantasy MLB lineup tonight. Gene Segura for the Phillies. But I do think they'll hit Gonzalez a bit. And I do think the Brewers lineup, now especially with Yelich and Kane both in that lineup tonight, confirmed now that the lineups have been posted, they'll do some damage against Arrieta. Can't like the Phillies' pen. They're always good to give up runs late in the game. And even Milwaukee's pen outside of Hader has been sketchy. So I like the side and the total here. I'll go Milwaukee and over 9.
Yeah, I just kind of think Gio continues to kind of be undervalued. Another game I kind of had my eye on, not necessarily running to bet this game. I just kind of wanted to kind of talk it through and kind of get your opinion. The Mets and Nationals. You look at the Nationals right now. As we know the problem with the Nationals. As usual, their bullpen's a mess. They have a 6.2 bullpen ERA. It's just a complete mess. It's just that simple. They've lost 5 of 7 games. They're only hitting 175 during that time. And, you look at the Mets, have had good luck this year against left-handed pitchers, done a nice job. Corbin is a good pitcher, but he's still a guy you can get to a little bit. I like what I saw out of Font in his first matchup. You look at his first pitch strike, a lot of first pitch strikes. I don't know if I love this from a full game, but then I also say, well, I know the Mets bullpen's better than the Nationals. I feel like this Nationals team is a bit overvalued in this game. I kind of like the Mets a little bit in this spot with Font. I like when they face lefties. They've actually been quite good.
It's not just that they've been a little bit overvalued. They've been way overvalued, and minus 15 units on the season for the Washington Nationals is evidence of that. I'm absolutely taking something on the Mets tonight at this price. There's no way I'm passing this up. Again, with this Washington team, you're seeing consistently them being priced in the betting markets in these minus 140, minus 150, minus 160 price ranges because of the fact that in theory, they're supposed to have a starting pitching edge with Corbin pitching the way he has, with Scherzer every 5 days, with Strasburg every 5 days, and guys like this that are supposed to be pretty good pitchers. There's one problem with backing Washington, though, just because those guys are not bad. The rest of the team stinks. That's the problem with it. The lineup is not great. They've had injury concerns. People have been in and out of this Washington lineup all season. Now, they did get Rendon back recently. I understand that, but it's still been an up and down offense. They've been horrific defensively at times in terms of errors, bad plays in the outfield, and even in the infield. They've made some errors. Their bullpen is not a unit that you can trust late in the innings to put up zeros. So, this Washington team is consistently overvalued because they have this perceived starting pitching edge when the rest of the team really has a lot of holes in it. Period. End of story. The New York Mets are not doing anything wrong right now. They've won 3 of their last 4. Font's been okay for the Mets. Their bullpen, okay, it's not a lights out bullpen, but really there's not a lot a bullpen has to be these days to be better than what the Nationals are trotting out there on a nightly basis from their relief corps. So at this price, yeah, absolutely, at least at half a unit, something. I'm going to be on the New York Mets in some form tonight.
Yeah, I think at this price, you kind of have to be. I mean, this is a nice plus money price. I mean, you look at this line. I mean, you're getting plus 135-ish back. And again, I like how Fonts looked. I like the way they hit lefties. I'll take a small little underdog shot. Free play tonight that I'm definitely going to be on is the Tampa Bay Rays. I'll keep backing them on the run line. I mean, they've won every game this year that they've won by more than 2 runs, 25-15. You look at Miami. I mean, this team's horrific. I mean, 10-30. You look at 105 runs in 40 games. There's no one even close to them as far as being that bad. You look at their games. They're losing their games, guys, by an average of 2.5 runs. They're not very good. I mean, Urania's been lit up at home. I'll keep backing Tampa. I mean, it's going to be a bullpen game for them here with Stanek, but you're going to get Beeks for a long period of time. I like what I'm seeing out of Tampa. I'll keep backing them, kind of an auto play on the run line.
Yeah, this game I didn't get involved with, but there's no way I want a part of Miami, and there's no way I want to trust Jose Urania. Urania's definitely had some struggles. 5.86 ERA in 5 home starts, 1-4 in those 5 home starts. Marlins are 0-3 in his last 3 starts overall. Marlins are 1-7 in Urania's 8 starts overall this year. They've just not been winning for the guy, although nobody's been winning for the Miami Marlins pitching-wise for a 10-30 baseball team. So, yeah, I don't love the price they were getting with Tampa here, but, hey, they've been winning a lot of blowout games, and I don't want Miami, so I wish you luck. It would be Tampa or nothing still for me.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of something auto play right now that I'm just doing. Ian, another interesting game here, and then I kind of want to see what you're into. We obviously have a lot of day games here, so the card at night's a little less. But you look at this Texas-Kansas City game tonight. I definitely like this from a multitude of different ways. But one thing I am kind of liking here is the over at 9.5. You look at Texas, you'd have to think they're going to crush Lopez tonight. Texas with a lot of big boys up front that are left-handed hitters. He has really struggled, Lopez, against lefties. Lefties hitting .319 off of Pablo or Jorge Lopez. They're crushing right-handed pitching. This should be a spot where you'd think the Royals are licking their lips at this one. I think Mike Minor, I mean, again, I think continuing to back him has been profitable. The only thing I have a concern with backing Mike Minor full game is the elephant in the room, and that's Texas bullpen. And second of all, you look at his 8 starts, Ian. He's 3-5. So what that's telling me is a lot of his games, they're inheriting the lead and losing. I think a first 5 has an interest here, but I think another play you could keep your eye on is the over. I mean, you look at Texas, 8 of their last 11 have gone over. 24 of 38 have gone over this year. KC, we know they're going to steal a lot of bases. They're a pretty decent offensive team. Not sure that they'll get a ton of Minor, but this game could be won late. This could be like a 4-2 game, in the 6th inning, and then the kind of wheels fall off. Texas scores 7 or 8. This is like a 7-4 type of game or something. Any thoughts on an over here?
I'm waiting for the Mike Minor train to derail. To be honest with you, I don't know if it's going to be tonight. I don't know if it's going to be in his next start or next month or whatever, but I can't see him keeping this up now because this is a guy that's been bounced around from one team to the next in the last few years. He's been with the Royals, another team he used to be. He's been with the Braves. He's been with just a bunch of teams in his MLB career, bounced around. Now all of a sudden here with this Texas team, he's having a tremendous first couple months of this, first month and a half of the season. But and he has thrown the ball harder. His swinging strike rate has gone up. So there are some good underlying stats and advanced metrics that point to him being a better pitcher, having improved. But I'm going to have to see a longer sample size than this because we're talking about a guy that, again, has been basically going back and forth from one team to the next, that has never had any sort of consistency, that's also had some injury problems in the past. I think at some point the shoe's going to drop on him, but right now you can't argue with it. He has pitched well. I'd certainly lean Texas first 5 more than the full game as well. I'd certainly lean Texas full game as well. Lopez is a guy I cashed an over ticket with in his last start against Houston. He was bombed. He's not a guy I trust. He's not a guy I like. He's given up a lot of hard hit contact. He's given up a lot of line drives. If you look at those soft, medium, and hard hit contact graphs on Fangraphs, which is a great site for stuff like that, this guy's given up more medium and hard hit contact than soft contact. That tells you that people are squaring him up. getting the barrel of the bat on the ball, and he's not fooling many people and deceiving many hitters. So this is not a guy that I trust against a lineup that's potent against righties. I don't like him against lefties, this Texas lineup. They have struggled against southpaws, but you get him against righties, they're a lot more potent. It could be a long night for Mr. Lopez tonight.
Yeah, you're starting to develop. You always have every year the list of those guys you just fade every time they're on the mound. And this guy's on the list, Lopez. I'll add the kid last night, Carpenter, for the Tigers. I mean, I bet against him last night. He's another one. I mean, you're starting to develop a short list of candidates for that. A lot of pitchers for Baltimore most of the time. But yeah, Lopez is not good. You have to figure he's going to have some real struggles tonight.
I find that May baseball is a great month for baseball because you've got enough of a sample size and data on all of these pitchers, the bullpens, the hitters. You've got enough data now that you can formulate better, stronger opinions. And it's still May where the lines aren't going to get ridiculous or outrageous on good pitchers and good teams or bad teams and bad pitchers. There's still going to be some value to attack these and go with teams, go with pitchers, or bet against teams and bet against pitchers. So May is that perfect month where you've got enough data now that you've collected that you can attack these games and handicap them better. And also the lines haven't gone crazy. Whereas when you get to August, and that's why second half MLB, big man, some years I don't even bother to bet baseball after the All-Star break because the lines are outrageous. Everybody knows who's good pitcher, who's a good team, and the value just dwindles big time, I find, in the second half of the season. So now's the time to go after it for me at least, when it comes to MLB.
The Yankees have just beaten the Baltimore Orioles 5-3, so they'll go to game 2. Coming up here, we got Cashner against Herman. Both have been good. Obviously, Herman's been even better. He's been terrific. But Cashner, he's starting to, find his way as well. Just had a big outing against the Red Sox. You always kind of look to fade kind of the team that, won in the first doubleheader. It'll be interesting to see what the Yankees throw out here as a lineup. But you're looking at this game and you're saying to yourself, Baltimore is not a good team and whatever, but I mean, this is a gigantic price here. I'm not sure how in a game 2 you don't maybe just throw a shilling or two on Baltimore. I'm going to it plus 220.
I don't get involved in the doubleheader stuff very often. I usually just, as soon as I see it's a doubleheader for 2 teams on the same day, I cross it off. I don't want any part of it. But I'll tell you right now, the one team that wins game 1 of a doubleheader, I don't want them in game 2. I don't want that team. There's a very decent little track record out there where you lose game 1 of a day-night doubleheader. It's a good bet-on situation in game 2 of that day-night doubleheader on the losing team in game 1. So that would point you to Baltimore. I know you got to hold your heart sometimes when you're betting a team like the Baltimore Orioles or teams like Miami, teams like that, the absolute worst in Major League Baseball. But sometimes it makes sense to do so. And you look at the pitching matchup there in that game, Cashner against Herman. Herman's been really good. I mean, and he's pitched well in the past at Yankee Stadium. That's your concern. But just from a long-term angle perspective, that would have you point in Baltimore game 2 of a doubleheader. The loser of game 1 sometimes gets the better of it in game 2.
I bet Baltimore once this year, and I cashed. It was a big underdog. I think it was against the Rays, I want to say.
Yep.
So, it's ended up working out. So.
Well, but because they're so bad and they're so, such a massive underdog every game, in terms of profitability of units, they're not that bad, Baltimore, this season.
No.
Because they're just getting those crazy big prices with them every single day.
We'll get to Blues, Sharks in just a little bit. We'll get to NBA as well. A couple of shout-outs here. What do we got? Chris Carter. Chris Carter is saying, do people really believe the lottery isn't fixed? No, I don't think anyone doesn't believe it's not fixed. I mean, there's a reason we don't see the balls. I mean, if you can't kind of add when you see a lottery being drawn, you see the balls. You see them come out. Why is it that it's so secretive? I mean, I think we all are well aware that a lot of it has to do with being fixed. I mean, if anyone tells you it's not, I think they're kind of delusional. Do I think that? You look at last night. I think that's a good point by you. I mean, you kind of fixed tanking and stuff, but a lot of that had to do with the rules as well. I don't disagree with you there. Devin Rivera, Chip Piler, Molecular Ninja, interesting name. Todd, thank you for watching. Ian Cameron in the chat. Always nice to see Ian not only communicate here on the show, but communicate with the people. Ron Fig, Lou Lanza, all sorts of people. Funny B, thanks for watching. Ian, what do you like in the MLB? Anything we didn't mention here?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to fixed in the NBA, anything but that with the acronym NBA beside it, I'll never put it past for anything to be fixed in that
No,
regard.
it's
So,
definitely a crap league for sure.
I mean, in terms of other baseball that I'm looking at tonight, I'm looking at Atlanta at about minus 125 against St. Louis. St. Louis has been really hitting, and that's the one concern I'd have. But I think Soroka's a good go with bet on pitcher, and I think he's getting better by the start. The one argument is, he's faced some weak lineups, but he's pitched well. The swing and miss stuff has been there, and I think it's a good bounce back spot for Atlanta. They got their absolute brains beat in last night by St. Louis, and I'm not enamored with anything Michael Wacha's doing right now. He's Michael Wacha, Walka Wacha right now. He's been walking guys left and right. He's been giving up some hard hit contact. Got crushed in his last start. Just not in good form at all for the St. Louis Cardinals. So I like Atlanta there. A little moderate home favorite price in a bounce back spot. What's the other one I kind of like tonight? There's one more, I think, in the late night games. I think it was Colorado, Boston, a little bit of a lean to the over there just because both of those teams are just raking right now. Like you look at Colorado, they're putting up 9, 8, 10, 11 runs a game, a lot of those in Denver, but they've been hitting better. They scored 5 last night against Boston. And then on the flip side, Marquez has been good on the road, but he hasn't pitched in the many road environments like Fenway Park this season against a Boston lineup that is clearly feeling it right now. They've been hitting the ball much better in the last week or so, where they've played much better overall as a team. So those are the two I'm looking at in games we haven't talked about yet. Atlanta and also the over 9 in Colorado, Boston.
Yeah, definitely one that I think a lot of people are kind of immersed in. We know that the bullpens for both those teams definitely have issues. Colorado coming in, pretty good offensive team. Going forward, over the weekend, Colorado comes into Philadelphia. Charlie Blackmon, a couple other Rockies have really good success at Citizens Bank Park. But there you go. Baseball for you tonight. I'll go free play Tampa on the run line. I also like Texas and KC to go over 9.5. Let's go to some NBA, Ian. We got NBA tonight. Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. You get the Milwaukee Bucks against the Toronto Raptors. Milwaukee laying 6.5. Total is 218.5. All right, Ian. I do a call in every week with a show on a radio station down in Greenville, North Carolina, and they had me on yesterday to talk about both these series, and I recommended yesterday that I like Toronto. The problem I have with it is it really goes against every trend, every spot, everything, and you kind of look at it and say, well, Toronto's got to be fatigued. They normally don't play well in game ones, but I just am not willing to think that I just don't know that these teams are this much different. I think the Bucks are not the same matchup that like the Sixers or Orlando was. But then I look at it and I kind of say, I feel like this game screams under. I feel like if the game's close, obviously possessions will be at a premium, and I think it'll be like a 105, 102 type of game. And then I look at, and if it's a kind of a blowout, one team will probably quit or something anyway. So I'm going to go under. I'm going to go under 218.5, or you can actually get 219 right now at a few books. I'm going to look that way here. I just think either way I slice it, I just think this is a lower scoring game. I think Toronto is remarkably good defensively. I also think Milwaukee's pretty underrated on the defensive end. I think points will be at a premium in this game, but I don't like it as much as kind of my thoughts on last night's game. So what do you like here, Ian?
See, I think this has a chance to be a little bit more of an over the total series game to game than some people think, but I don't love it tonight. I bet it tonight the over, but I don't love it tonight because we did see game 1 last night stay way under the total, and you wonder about the layoff and all that. And I do have to clear up something. I'm obviously in the heart of Canada here. Raptors fever has taken over. I'm not a diehard, hardcore Raptors fan. I'm not. That's your Gabe Morency's of the world. They're your hardcore Raptors fans. Now that they're this far, I hope they do well. I support them. I'm not going to cry and just be this.
He's also a guy
person. Yeah,
he's also a guy that just roots against the Sixers, whoever they're playing. So, like when they were playing the Nets, he was a Nets fan. It seemed like. So,
I think that's coincidence because he's been a Brooklyn Nets guy ever since he got to New York.
Yeah.
He's really supported them. I don't think it's a hate Philly thing because he actually gave Joel Embiid props and said I respect him a lot more after that Toronto series game. But I think it's just coincidence of who they were playing. Brooklyn, where he's living now, pretty much just close by, and then Toronto. But yeah, I hope the Raptors do well. But am I one of these fans that just gets crushed inside when they lose? No, hell no. I mean, I hope they do well, and in fact, I'll prove that right now because I laid the 6 with Milwaukee tonight here in game number 1 here of this series. I'm with you, Jeff, in terms of I think Toronto's got a chance in this series. I really do, but I don't like this spot and I don't like this situation at all for them here tonight in game number 1. They're coming off everybody's talked about it. It's the most thrilling, incredible win in franchise history, and it is. The way game 7 ended. There's no question about that kind of victory. To turn around this quick, I know they have the extra day, maybe that helps, and face this Milwaukee team. Now, Milwaukee's got their own concerns. They got the extended layoff. They've been off for a while since they got past Boston. But I think Milwaukee's got a big-time point to prove tonight here in game 1 because they'll remember that in game 1 of the last series against Boston, they didn't show up. They were awful, and they got blown out at Fiserv Forum on their home court. And I don't think that sat well with any of them. Now, they went on and rolled after that, 4 straight wins in convincing fashion, but they didn't like their game 1 performance, and I don't think they want to let that happen again here tonight in game 1. And you look at this Milwaukee team, good luck betting against them right now in the playoffs. This team was totally undervalued all season long point spread wise, and it's continued in the playoffs. They're 8-1 against the number, in their 9 playoff games, Milwaukee. So they just continue to get, very little betting market love. It's not one of those teams that's a public team. Believe it or not, they're the number 1 seed in the East, and they're not a public team. They don't get that flock of betting market attraction from the masses. They just don't. That's why they can be a team that's covered 8 of their 9 playoff games so far. I think it's going to be like last night. It could be close for a while. Toronto maybe hangs around for 3 quarters, maybe into the 4th a bit. And then Milwaukee goes on that surge to pull away. And I got to be honest, I'm going to have to see a lot more from the Raptors supporting cast around Kawhi Leonard than I saw in the last round. With Milwaukee, I think I can count on Chris Middleton to support Giannis. I think I can count on Bledsoe to support Giannis. I think I can count on George Hill to support Giannis. And Connaughton off the bench has been a spark plug for the Bucks. Can I trust Van Vliet and Norm Powell and all these guys? Can I trust Ibaka and Gasol offensively? I know what they're going to bring defensively and rebounding. What can they bring to me offensively game to game in this series to help out Kawhi Leonard? Kyle Lowry, another guy that you never know what you're going to get game to game in the playoffs. So that's going to be the concern. As far as the over, why I like the over. Milwaukee's a great defensive team. Toronto's a great defensive team. Why would you like the over? Milwaukee faced Detroit with a bum Blake Griffin in terms of he was injured. He wasn't right that whole series, and he's makes so much of what makes the Pistons go offensively. And then they faced Boston, who was basically one bad Kyrie Irving 3-point shot that entire series after another. Their offense was stagnant. They didn't run it well. Kyrie was a ball hog and he was shooting terribly. I think Toronto's offense can pose bigger threats to Milwaukee than Detroit or Boston did, assuming that Toronto's supporting cast can step up shooting the basketball. I think they will, and here's why. The pressure's off now, a little bit. Game 7, that was a big game. They were tight. You could feel it in the building. You could feel it with the team. I think those supporting cast guys will relax a bit now, be able to maybe get back to their rhythm shooting the ball, and I think you'll see that. And on the flip side, for Milwaukee's offense against Toronto, Toronto in the Sixers series, with all due respect to Philly, Joel Embiid's not 100% healthy that whole series. He was ineffective for most of that series with respiratory this and boiler that and knee injury that. I mean, it was just one thing after another for him. And you have Ben Simmons on the court most of that series. And it's basically, playing with 3.5 on 5, because you don't trust that guy to ever hit a jump shot. So I think for Toronto, as good as their defense was at times in that series, Milwaukee's going to be a whole different and whole much tougher defensive test for this Toronto Raptors team. So that's my theory on why I'm looking to bet overs in this series. I should point out Milwaukee, the 2 regular season games between these teams in Milwaukee, both went over the total, both got into the 230s. So I'm going to be contrarian here. I know a lot of people like the under, no question, but I'm going to be on Milwaukee -6 and over 217.5 here in game 1.
Yeah, I couldn't disagree more. I'm on. If I had to play, I'd take Toronto, and if I had to play the
Toronto and
total,
under. So
yeah,
someone's going to win listening to
yeah.
us here. Someone will. Toronto and under, Milwaukee and over. We've given you all 4 possible sides and totals. So someone's going to win listening to one of us anyway.
Listen, at the end of the day, I look at Toronto here, and I haven't seen one person on Toronto. I mean that. Everything I see is Milwaukee, Milwaukee, Milwaukee. Line hasn't moved. It's been at 6.5, 6.5, 6.5. I think this is a close game. I think it's 105, 102, something like that. I'll take 6.5. I'll think that. Look, I hate to say it, but and I know that was such a great win and everything, but does it come across to you, Ian, like that Toronto is just like an all business type of team? Like they don't come across as a team that like you look at all their players: Lowry, Leonard, Ibaka, Gasol, Danny Green, all these guys. There's no like attitudes or like I don't know. Like I just feel like they're all business. Like they come across all business to me. And look, I'm not going to say that, you look at the Raptors over their last 11 game 1 games in the playoffs, they're 2-9 against the spread. I hope this is one of the two.
All right, there you go. So again, Jeff likes Toronto and under. I like Milwaukee and over. So the bottom line is we're giving you some kind of winners with this game, one way or the other. That's the good news here. I'll say this: Toronto's a likable team outside of when Lowry starts whining and complaining to the refs. I don't like that he does that as much as he does. But outside of that, they're a likable group. They really are. For the most part, you like that a superstar for a change, like Kawhi Leonard, big man. He's not this guy that goes all the time and pump the chest and just, look at like, oh, look at, I'm a god out here. And he doesn't give you any of that. He's a cerebral guy. He's reserved. He's quiet. He's low key. That's refreshing in an NBA superstar to see that every now and then. And these guys that they got to flex their muscles and do all this nonsense. I love that about Kawhi Leonard. And obviously he's the reason why Toronto's here. We'll see if he can keep up this incredible postseason performance that he's delivered through the first 2 rounds.
Now, let me tell you something, Ian. I've had a very sneaky good NBA year. Okay. I'm going to tell you.
Good stuff.
I'm going to tell you right now. Raptors might get the job done here tonight, and they might win. I'm going to say that.
Well, all of Canada certainly hopes you're right. I can tell you that. You'll have a lot of friends in this country saying something like that.
Sure. By the way, happy to see this game's not on ESPN. I'm blown away at it is just nauseating watching ESPN broadcasts. I mean, how many fucking pregame shows can you have? 8:30, this game will start at 8:30. That's what TNT does. You go from a pretty good pregame show right to them, right to the game, and it starts right away. None of this we have a 6-hour pregame show with some of the worst analysts in history, with the worst, by the way, Molly Karam might be the most annoying personality on ESPN, but second might be Michelle Beadle.
You got to ring out your ears listening to her for a few minutes. Yeah,
like I've said before, like I find Molly Karam to be incredibly attractive, but her voice is horrific, like awful. It makes me want to fucking scream. And we go to the game, then we preview the game, then we go back to these fucking idiots, and then we just start the goddamn game already.
They're bad for that. They did that with the lottery last night. They did that with game 1. It took forever. Yeah. What I loved about and you saw it with Raptors and Sixers game 7 on Sunday night, which was a TNT game. That damn thing tipped off right at 7 p.m. on the nose, pretty much. They got right to it. They had their little half-hour pregame, which is a better pregame, by the way, than anything ESPN will give you. And then they went right to the game at 7 p.m. No wasting time, no delays. The one thing I would have changed in the East Final is they've named the commentating crew is going to be Marv Albert, Chris Webber, and Reggie Miller.
Yeah, the three-man
booth. Here's the thing with Marv Albert. He is a legend. I'm not going to absolutely rain on his parade. He's had a tremendous career, but his best days are behind him. I hate to say it. It pains me to say that. He is a tremendous broadcaster. He's had an amazing career. He's one of my favorites of all time, especially in basketball. But the best days are behind him. He's getting players mixed up on the court sometimes. He's a few steps behind the play a couple of times. Like, it's just, you can tell that Father Time's catching up with Marv Albert. Weber is, kind of mundane and blah. And then Reggie Miller's fucking insufferable. I can't stand it. He's just absolutely brutal.
I will, though. I will say this, and I'm going to keep saying it. Look, I've talked about Roz Golden Woody. I think she arguably is one of the hottest women I've ever seen, and I mean that, from her classiness to the way she looks to the everything. But she's a good reporter too. I mean, she gets you great info. She's kind of like Maria Taylor. Maria Taylor's kind of weird, but like she gets good info a lot of the time. A lot of these girls do, but like Roz Golden Woody is, I mean, that's the kind of girl you take home to your mom, man. And the guy that gets her is like one of the luckiest guys on earth because she's terrific. I mean, she's everything you want, man.
There's a reason Kawhi Leonard smiled when it was her interviewing
Sure.
one of those TNT games. You could
How
tell
could you
even
not?
she got him to light up a little bit. Yeah, how can you
I mean,
not?
she's just like she's not like she doesn't throw everything out there just so people look at her. Like she's just hot. Like she's sexy. Like the way like everything about her is just super attractive. Ian, let's get into NHL. We'll kind of give you the floor on this.
Yeah, one last point before about the TNT. The only thing I would have said is I think this was the year, with no disrespect to Marv Albert, he's done great. I would have made Kevin Harlan the East Final announcer this year. I think he's deserved it.
I'm a big Albert guy, but I do hear where you're coming from. It's kind of like like Vern Lundquist kind of got that way to me, like late in his career. But yeah, I don't disagree with that. All right, St. Louis Blues in Game 3 against the San Jose Sharks. St. Louis, we're at 140, total 5.5. This series is tied 1-1. We all know a very good home crowd there in St. Louis, but San Jose looks good. Logan Couture. What do you like here, Ian?
You know what? It's weird because I feel like I'm contradicting myself because I picked St. Louis to win this series, but I'm on San Jose tonight. At the underdog price. I really am. This has that feel of a back and forth series where you bet on the team that lost the last game. It's been two teams that have had no problems bouncing back after a loss. It's two teams and coaches and DeBoer and Berube here for these two teams that have made great adjustments. Joe Thornton is third line with Kevin LeBanc and Melker Karlsson. They sort of talked after game 2, we've got to play better. We got to lend support to Pavelski and Couture and Timo Meier. And guys like that have really been playing well for us in these playoffs. We got to give them more support. Hurdle, of course, Tomas Hurdle's been excellent as well. Thornton and Pavelski, or Thornton and LeBanc, that third line, definitely talking after game 2. They need to be better. I think they will be tonight. I mean, it's tough to go against St. Louis at home. You know, they want to play Gloria, as everybody knows. They want to do that after the game tonight. But I like the San Jose resolve. I remember them losing game 2 against Colorado at home in the last round. They came back in game 3 on the road and played one of their best games of the entire playoffs, that game 3 road win in Colorado. I think they'll give you some kind of similar performance tonight. So I'm going to take the plus price here with the San Jose Sharks. They're 4-0 in their last 4 tries off a playoff loss, dating back to the first round against Vegas. So they're on a nice little run where they have yet to drop 2 playoff games in a row. I think that pattern continues. And if you're into the goal scorers market, Bet365 is great for that with a lot of sports, hockey, soccer. Joe Thornton and Kevin LeBanc, the two guys that after game 2 said in their post-game interviews, we got to be better in game 3 and moving forward as a line. You can bet Joe Thornton and Kevin LeBanc on that third line for San Jose to score a goal tonight at plus 375. That is value. That's calling my name. Those two bets, Thornton and LeBanc to score goals tonight for San Jose. And if you want to go even deeper down the bargain bin board for goal scoring props tonight, St. Louis, look at Robert Thomas, the third liner, at plus 600 to score a goal tonight. He's playing better as the playoffs go on. He's becoming more impactful. He's getting more ice time because Craig Berube is getting more confidence in him. He played for my Hamilton Bulldogs here in the junior ranks. He is playing better and becoming a bigger impact for the Blues as the playoffs go on. So there's 3 value-laden goal-scoring props that I think you can cash one of those, you're profitable. I think they're all worth a look.
Good stuff, Ian. Great work. PGA Championship tomorrow. We got a few minutes left here. I have a few plays that I'm on. I'm taking one play I like, Molinari to finish in the top 20, plus 120. Molinari's been just unbelievable in majors. It's just that simple. He's finished top 6 in 4 of the last 6 majors. He's finished top 25 in all of them. He just plays really well in majors. Good putter, just good attitude, just an overall really good golfer. I like what I've seen out of Molinari. He's been really hot. I'll grab him for a few units at plus 120 to get into the top 20. I think that's a pretty safe bet. As far as some outrights, again, I'm fairly new with golf. I kind of just started betting it last year, but one thing I know about Bethpage Black is, obviously you got to be able to drive the golf ball. You got to be able to kind of get a good second shot as well. You can kind of get away with not being a great putter. One guy I really like is Jason Day. He's had good success in this event. He's having a pretty good season so far. He has probably actually a pretty good long and short game. I think at 22-1, Jason Day's kind of a name that I kind of have on my mind. John Rahm as well. He's not won a major, but for me, he's kind of a guy that I want to back every time. He's got a great, ability to drive the ball a mile. He's got good second shot ability as well. I like what John Rahm can do at 18-1. I think he's a guy that every time there's a major, I'll bet. Kind of a longer odd guy, Sergio Garcia. He's been a guy that's had a really good season, 5 top 10s this year. I think he could be in contention. I'm kind of taking a lot of golfers that people don't like. A lot of people don't like Garcia. A lot of people don't like John Rahm, but I kind of have my eye on those guys. I consider Justin Rose. I might even throw something in on Rory. Ian, what do you have? Do you have anyone you like?
Yeah, I'm not Mr. Golf expert, but I follow the sport. I watch it regularly, and I try to make good opinions. I rely on a couple of good golf people that I trust in terms of handicapping and betting. So I sometimes listen to what they've got to say, but at the end of the day, I make my own final decisions at the end. I think I don't want to say he's due and use that as the reason why I'm backing him, but I think Ricky Fowler's close. Like really, really, really close to getting a major and getting this done at one point. So I have a little piece of him at 18-1 here. Currently was what you can find there. Again, this is going to be an interesting tournament because this is supposed to Bethpage Black. It's sometimes a tough course. You usually a course where you take par and you're happy. Well, because of all the rain that's been hitting the New York area this week, the greens are going to be sped up. This is going to be a golf course where you're going to have the opportunity probably to maybe make some birdies and, get a decent score under your belt here in this tournament. So there could be some more opportunities to move up the leaderboard than maybe you normally would under drier conditions at Bethpage Black going into this tournament. So, there's going to be some opportunities here for some shenanigans and some changes, and the leaderboard maybe not staying as constant as maybe you would believe. But yeah, you've got to obviously be able to strike the ball well. You got to be able to be good in the rough this week too, because with the rain, that rough it's going to be like trying to whack the golf ball out of cement. It's going to be that tough, at times to get the ball out of the rough, out of that thick stuff, the fescue. That's one of my favorite terms in golf, the fescue, which they call the thick, long rough. That's going to be tricky stuff to get into. You got to avoid that at all costs if you're anybody playing this course this weekend. So Fowler's one I'm kind of interested in. Fleetwood as well, 33-1. Tommy Fleetwood, I think this is a course that's pretty well suited for him. A lot of people I talk to kind of agree with that.
I gotta interject here, and I'm glad you brought Fleetwood up because I understand the pick. I'm just done with that fuck. Every time I bet him, he fucks me.
This is a good fit for him, but I hear you. He's had some terrible Saturdays and Sundays. Some of these tournaments.
Yeah, he's brutal. It gets old.
Yeah, it's just one of those picks you go with because you think horse for the course. You always say that about horse racing. This is a guy in terms of this golf course. It fits his style pretty well. He should have success here. But you're right. He's had some bugaboos in these weekends, after they make the turn and after the cut. Saturday, Sunday has been a little bit of an issue for him. But those are the two I really looked at. In terms of longer shots, when I look down the board, Hao Tung Lee always is a guy that's interesting. 140-1. Matt Wallace, 125-1. Keith Mitchell, 125-1. These are guys that have had good seasons on tour, and I know in the majors they're still trying to work at living up and stepping their game up in the big tournaments. But you're talking about guys that have had good form: Hao Tung Lee, Keith Mitchell, Matt Wallace, guys that in the beyond 100-1 range, worth a small flyer in my opinion, based on their form.
Yeah, I actually took Matt Wallace in one of my FanDuels. Another guy, kind of a big, he's kind of a big odds. I want to get the exact odds here. Let me find it here. Odds to win. Um, Keegan Bradley. He's pretty low down. I got to find where he is. I'm so I would think he's there he is 125 to 1. Keegan Bradley actually went to St. John's. This has to be a pretty good spot for him to come back to. He was in New York for college. He's been around this area. Not saying that has much to do with why he'll win, but I don't know. I kind of have a weird feeling he's going to be in the mix. Once you get down to some of these, you're kind of throwing chances at things.
Hell, even Siwoo Kim, recently had a really good tournament earlier this year. You can get him 150 to 1. Kistner's been in decent form, but the thing with Kistner is I've seen at 100 to 1. I've seen so many egregious examples of him just shitting his pants and melting down, when he's had the lead or he's been right there in some of the bigger tournaments, and that's what concerns me.
I actually will always love Kevin Kisner because I actually won with him at the Valero. I took him live at 8 to 1, like around, I want to say it was like Saturday, and he ended up getting the job done. So I was quite happy with that performance. But yeah, I know where you are with that. I mean, I get what you're saying. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I mean, I don't have a ton that I'm in love with, but definitely Molinari to finish top 20. I like that a lot. Even John Rahm at even money to finish top 20. All those bets I think are pretty solid.
As Cam Stewart, our friend, says, ramen noodles, as he always says when it comes to John Rahm. Yeah. He's got his little pet nicknames for golfers. They're hilarious.
Yeah, he's pretty good with golf. I actually have to listen to his show. I didn't hear he was on this week, but he's a good golf guy. He knows a lot about golf. Always throws out some good stuff. I want to say he was the guy that kind of put me in Kisner's camp during that Valero. He was really good with that one, but he's definitely a golf guy I surely respect.
No doubt, he knows his golf. Cam Stewart definitely knows his golf, and he's done well with it. And I like that he goes for the long bombs, the big drivers, as he likes to say. He goes for these 100 to 1 shots, 125 to 1. He doesn't just pepper the board with all these favorites in the tournaments. So he goes for some home runs. And like I say, if I'm going to look at longer shots, I see Siwoo Kim, Matt Wallace, Keith Mitchell. Yeah, Haotong Lee, guys like that are the ones I would honestly, it's just a couple of bucks. You don't have to go $100 on it, just a couple of bucks and see where it gets you.
As I said with Molinari, top 20, I think you were talking about Kisner. I feel like with Kisner, the only way I'd be looking to bet him would be like top 20. I mean, with the exception of that match play, I mean, he's not really been good. I mean, he finished top 5 last week in that Zurich or last tournament in Zurich or whatever, Zurich Classic. But I don't know. I'm not sure he can win, but I guess we'll see. Definitely a lot of options. I definitely agree with you on a few of those.
There's two guys and I see in the chat, there's two guys that stand out as two guys that are overdue for a major, that have the capability and the talent and should match up well at this course. Rahm for sure. Fowler, of course, who I've taken, and Finau. Bigfoot Tony Finau is another one that a lot of people seem to like. I have more faith in Ricky than Finau for some reason. I didn't bet Finau. I'm not going to bet Finau. Ricky Fowler's that one guy that I think that he's got that opportunity and potential to finally get over that hump and get it done.
Interesting. Couple quick things here before we wrap up, Ian. I wanted to just kind of quickly talk about this. So today in New York, there was a helicopter crash, and I've seen the video. It wasn't incredibly high, just kind of getting off the ground. But I'm going to tell you right now, I would never, ever get in a helicopter, ever. I have no interest in getting in a helicopter, ever. I don't know about you, but
I'm indifferent. Like if I had to get one, I would. But am I saying, I got to run out there and go on a helicopter ride in my lifetime? No.
Yeah, I'm not if it was life or death, I have to get on or I'm gonna die. Okay, I guess I will, but I just don't really I have no interest at all.
Can't blame you for that.
Yeah, I don't know why, but this guy survives non-life-threatening injuries. Pretty amazing.
Thank goodness. Yeah.
I also saw a pathetic video on Facebook of a girl that pushed an old man off a bus. Did you see that?
I'm glad I haven't seen it.
Well, like the door was open and she shoved him out. Obviously, it's not. I mean, he actually ended up dying. The guy died.
That's awful. Wow.
And
Jesus, man.
now instead of going to jail for a few years, she's going to get life. So good. At least there's one good thing. Some slob will be off the street.
Total brain dead. Ridiculous to do something like that. It's not even worth. Just being justifying someone doing some stupid thing like that.
No. Arian Costa says his girlfriend has fescue. Good one.
I like that one. Yeah. Fescue. You're going to hear it. You're going to hear it now. You're going to hear it this weekend. You're going to hear it at the U.S. Open and the Open Championship as well when they go to England for that major championship. You'll hear it all the time from the commentators. Fescue. Always in the fescue. I love hearing that.
I think it's just like a dainty way of saying grass, but
I love it that you're a golf fan now, Jeff. You're getting into this golf. I'm happy about that.
Well, I won with Molinari when he won the major, and I kind of just started messing with it. Again, I've made it clear I'm not a pro. Like, I'm not a professional. And, I'll tell you what, this is something that I said on Gabe's show, and I'm going to say it to you. One guy that I always found to be, I always, find it kind of admiring when a guy finds something in the business that he loves. I heard one time Gabe had this, every time I hear Gamble Lou on with Gabe, he talks about UFC, or I hear you talk about hockey, or even Jeff Feinberg talk about golf. Jeff Feinberg, Jeff Feinberg hates me, but I admire him with the way he loves golf. And he was one of the first people that I listened talk about golf. And I don't play golf. I don't claim to know a ton about it, but it's kind of like NASCAR. And I've always liked betting on NASCAR. And, it's something that you try to kind of have some fun with, especially in the summer and things like that. But, every time you can find someone that has an admiration for something, like me with college basketball, I always kind of respect that. One or two comments and then we will wrap up today. How about a hot air balloon? No way. No fucking way. In fact,
I already said that in the chat. That's not happening for me either.
It's funny you asked that because actually I was considering, I was looking up stuff to do with a girl because I'm trying to win a girl back that I did some dumb stuff with. And that came up, hot air balloon. And it's no, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't care how much I wanted a girl. I would not be a hot air balloon ride. Would not be the thing that I do to show my love and affection. No.
I've said this before, and I'll say this again. I hate heights. I don't do well in heights. A plane ride's different because, it's just kind of a thing you have to do. But I'll literally get sick thinking about heights. These people that climb on buildings with no suspensions and stuff like that. That literally makes me sick. I couldn't do that.
That's a hell no. That's a hard no for me doing any of that shit.
Yeah, exactly. But all right, guys, we will wrap it up. In closing, just want to throw out, I'm on Jason Day, John Rahm, and Sergio Garcia. Might add one or two, and then I like Molinari. I'll be on that one quite big to finish top 20. Tonight in baseball, I like the Rays minus 1.5 and the over in the Rangers-Royals game. Ian, what's your favorite baseball player tonight? Let's throw out one here.
Throw out one. Wow, that's you know what? Let's roll the dice. Let's go for a little bang for our buck. Just because of the price, I'm going to say use it as best bet. Mets. Meet the Mets against the Washington Nationals. Nice price against a team that I just don't think should be favored by that much right now. Like it a lot. Ian Cameron, as always, thanks for coming on a Wednesday here. You can follow Ian on Twitter at Babano if you haven't done that. And he will also be on tonight with Gabe Morency as well. Actually, tomorrow night, because as with Gabe this week, not tonight, because just for this week, because I'm actually a friend of mine's doing this old barbecue thing and wants to watch the hockey and the Raptors and all that. Not to kick the wife out, but the wife's gone out with friends, so wants to have everybody over for a barbecue. So that's where I'm headed right after the show. Looking forward to it. Very good. Have fun. All right, we're out of here. You all have a great night. Thanks for joining us. I'm the Big Man on Campus, Easy and Cameron. We will see you tomorrow here on the show. Bye-bye. All right, guys. Have a great night.